Continuing on in chapter 11, now we're going to kick over to three-dimensional space, and we're going to start talking about area and volumes of different figures. We're going to start off today with prisms. Now, a prism is a 3D figure with two parallel polygonal sides, and we call those the base. A prism is named after the bases. Okay, so for example, if we look here at the triangular prism, the base would be the two triangles that are parallel to each other. On a square prism, it would be the two squares. On a rectangular prism, we would have the two rectangles that are parallel to each other. On a pentagonal prism, it would be the two pentagons. On a hexagonal, it would be the two hexagons. Octagonal, the two octagons. Now, if you also notice, we also have bases are the parallel sides. But in a prism, the other sides, they're called the lateral sides, are rectangles. So when you look here, like for example, on this hexagonal prism, this is a lateral side. And if you notice, there's two of those that are exactly matching. Okay, and you would just go around, and there is a lateral side to every side of the polygon that is the base. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is we are going to be looking at surface area and lateral area of prisms first. The surface area is the sum of the areas of each side. For a prism, the formula is 2 times the area of the base So we only find one area of a base and we multiply it by 2 because there are two exact same bases. Then we add that to the perimeter of the base multiplied by the height of the prism. Now, the way that you know what the height is, the height of the prism is simply how far the bases are from each other. Okay, so that's our formula. So we take 2 times the area of the base plus the perimeter times the height, and that will give us the surface area of the prism. Now, if you want to think about surface area, here's kind of the way to think about that. Let's start off with perimeter. Remember, perimeter is we're putting a fence around it. Area is we're putting carpet down on it. Surface area is like you are wrapping the whole thing in wrapping paper, but no overlap and no gaps. Okay? And in volume, we're pouring water into it and filling it up. So surface area, we want to know how much exact paper would it take to cover all the edges, all the sides. Okay, so here we go. So let's break this down and see what we can do. So when we look at this, we have, here I'm looking at a rectangular prism. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as my base. Okay. And I'm going to take that, so I'm going to use the top as my base here. I have a parallel one to it straight down at the bottom. So the first thing I want to know is what is the area of that base. And remember, the area of a rectangle is simply base times height, which is 19 times 7. So we take 19 times 7, and that's going to give us 133. Then we're going to come in here, and now we're going to find the perimeter of that base. So the perimeter of that base would be 19 plus 7 plus 19 plus 7, which is going to give us 19 plus 7 plus 19 plus 7, and we end up with 52 for the perimeter. And then the height of the prism is how far are those two apart, and they are 7 units apart. So let's now do the surface area. So the surface area is going to equal 2 times the base of 133 plus 52 times 7. So now we just simply work that out. 2 times 133, that's going to get us 266 plus 52 times 7, that's going to get us 364. And if we add that together, 364 plus 266, we come up with a surface area of 630 square miles. Okay, so that's how we go about that process. All right, if we look here at the second one, I have a triangular prism. Okay, so here's one base, here's the other base. Now, if you notice, when I start in, I'm going to find the area of that base. Remember, the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base and the height. And remember, the base and the height have to be perpendicular. So 1/2 of 6 times 8, which is going to get us 24. The perimeter then would be 6 plus 8 plus 10, which is going to get us 24. And the height of the prism here would be 7, because it is 7 yards between the two bases. Okay, so now let's set that up. Let's do our math now. So the surface area is equal to 2 times 24, the area of the base, plus 24 times 7. So the surface area is going to give us 48 plus 24 times 7 is going to give us 168. So if we add that together, then the surface area is going to be 168 plus 48, which is 216 square yards. And that would be the surface area of that prism. Okay, so now let's talk lateral area. So the surface area, remember, is the dimensions of all of the area of all the sides added together. Well, the lateral area is the sum of the areas of each side, excluding the bases. Okay, excluding the bases. So the bases are not included in the lateral. It's basically the space between the two bases. What are the area of the sides that are between the two bases? Now, if you notice, this part is actually in the original formula right here, perimeter times height. So what we do is it's the exact same formula, we just take off the bases part, okay? So when we look at this figure, we have a triangular prism. I have my 2 triangles. I have the one here in front, and I have the one there in back, okay? So those are my 2 triangles. So I'm not going to worry about those. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to find the perimeter of that triangle. Now, if I copy this over, I know this is 12, right? So now we need to know what is that third side. So what I can do is I'm just going to do some Pythagorean theorem here real quick. I'm going to go x squared plus 12 squared, and that equals 20 squared. So then we take the 20 and we go x squared plus 144 equals 400. I subtract that, so x squared is equal to 256. I take the square root of that, and x is equal to 16. So that triangle has sides of 12, 16, and 20. So now, if I look for the perimeter then, the perimeter would be 20 plus 12 plus 16, which is going to get us 48. The height is the distance between the two bases, which would be 15. So the lateral area is actually just going to be the perimeter, 48, multiplied to the height of 15. So 48 times 15 is going to get us 720 square centimeters. Okay, and that would be the lateral area. And again, what we're finding there is we are finding the space between the two bases. Okay, that's what we're finding, those three sides that are between those two bases. So when we're looking for lateral area, that's what we're looking for, is what is the area between the two bases. All right, let's try another one. If you look here, we have a pentagonal prism. So our bases this time would be the two pentagons. Okay. And they want us to find both the surface area and the lateral area. Okay. So remember, surface area is equal to 2 times the base plus the perimeter times the height. Lateral area is equal to just the perimeter times the height. Okay, so the first thing we need to know is we need to know one of the lengths of that side. Now, if you notice, they give me the apothem right there in the middle. So the first thing I need to do is I need to deal with my triangle here. So I have my triangle. They tell me that the apothem is 5.5. So I need to know this side. Now, this is a pentagon, so remember to find that central angle, right? So if we look for that central angle, we take 360 divided by the 5, and that's going to get us 72 for that central angle. So then that means that this angle has to be half of that, which is 36. This is a tangent relationship. So I'm going to go tangent of 36 is equal to opposite over 5.5. So x is equal to 5.5 times the tangent of 36. And then we take our calculator, we go 5.5 tangent 36, and that's going to get us 3.99. We're going to round that up. So that's going to be, we're going to round it to the nearest tenth. So we're just going to go 4.0. Okay, so that is the length of half of a side. So the full length of a side is going to be 8.0 units. Okay, so now we need to start in and find all our pieces. So let's start with the base. So to find the area of the base, so remember that is apothem, which here is 5.5, multiplied to the number of sides, 5, times the side length, 8, all divided by 2. So we're going to take 5 times 8 times 5.5, 220. Divide that by 2, and that's going to be an area of the base that's 110. Next, I need to know is perimeter. Perimeter of this is if every leg is 8, then the perimeter is 5 sides times 8, and that would be 40. And the distance between those two is going to be 9 between the two bases. So that is that measurement right there, which is 9. So now we're ready to solve our two answers. So let's start with surface area. Surface area, we simply go 2 times the area of the base plus the perimeter, 40, times 9. So this is going to give me 220. That's going to give me 360. I'm going to add that together, so 360 plus 220, and that is going to give us 580 square yards for a surface area. For my lateral area, remember it's just the perimeter, 40 times 9, which would be 360 square yards. And that would be the surface area and the lateral area of that pentagonal prism. Okay, so now we're going to shift a little bit. So that's how we do surface area and lateral area. Now what we're going to do is we're going to shift to volume. So remember, perimeter is a fence. We're putting a fence around it. Areas, we're covering a piece with carpet. Surface area, we're wrapping the whole thing in wrapping paper. No overlaps, no gaps. Volume, we're filling the thing with water. Okay? So when we look at the volume of a figure is how much three-dimensional space the figure takes up. Now, the formula for this is area of the base times the height of the prism. Again, how far are the two bases apart from each other? Okay, so let's start in then. Let's take a look at this. So if I look here, I have my base. I'm going to do this rectangle on the top. And I have its parallel one on the bottom here. So to find this, all I need to know is the area of the base. So here I would go 5 times 20, which is 100. And then I need the height, which is 14. So now to find the volume, I just go 100 times 14, which is 1,400 cubic kilometers. Okay, so that's how we would find the volume of that first figure. Let's take a look at the second one. Here, my bases are the triangles. Okay, so top and bottom. And what I want to know is the area of that base. Remember, in the area of a base, they have to be, the height and base of the base have to be perpendicular. So this is going to be 11 times 3.1. So if we take that, we go 11 times 3.1, divide that by 2, and we get 17.05. Remember, the height is going to be 7. In other words, how far are those bases apart? So now the volume here is going to be the area of the base, 17.05, times the height, 7. And that's going to give me 17.05 times 7. And that is going to give me 119.35 cubic meters. And that would be our volume. Okay. Last one we're going to try. Here, if you notice, we have a hexagonal prism. So here what I'm told is that I have 9 feet for a side length. I have a height of 11. But what I have to have, because it's a regular hexagon, I have to know the apothem. So when we look at a hexagon, remember, if we find that central angle, we take 360 divided by 6, which is 60 degrees. So then if I take that triangle apart, this triangle down here, this is the apothem. Half of 9 is 4.5. So if I draw in my triangle here, I know this measurement is 4.5. Here's my apothem. Half of the 60 would be 30 degrees. That's a tangent relationship. So tangent of 30 is equal to 4.5 over the apothem. Multiply and then divide. So that's going to give me 4.5 divided by the tangent of 30. So that is going to give me 4.5 divide tangent 30, and that's going to give me 7.8 is what we're going to go with, and that will be my apothem. So now we start in and we say, okay, what's the area of the base then? Remember, the area of the base is the apothem, 7.8, times the number of sides, which would be 6, times the side length of 9, all divided by 2. So now if we go 6 times 9 times 7.8, that's going to get us 421.2. Divide that by 2, and that's going to give us 210.6 for the area of the base. The second thing we need is the height, and remember the height is simply how far those bases are apart, which would give me 11. So the volume is going to be 210.6 multiplied to the height. So we've got 210.6 times 11, and that's going to give us a volume of 2,316.6 cubic feet. And that is the volume of that hexagonal prism. And that is how we do prisms. We find that for surface area, we do double the base, area of the base, added to the perimeter times the height. For lateral area, it's just the perimeter times the height of the base. And then for volume, we do the area of the base times the height of the prism. So those are 3 more formulas you need to probably write down on your formula chart and memorize those up. All right, there it is. Surface area and lateral area and volume of a prism.